Hi, I'm Simon. I own and operate Duncan West Automotive, and behind me is my 1992 R32 GT-R, which is used as a development tool. I've got a workshop which we predominantly work on, I guess, mum's and dad's car. The corner here is dedicated to predominantly GT-R work. We do a few other brands and bits and pieces. That's come about from just an interest of mine since the first Motor magazine, when the car was released. Actually, I was a paperboy at the time. Motor magazine, when the car first came to the country, for homologation for Group A racing. That's my interest in the 32 GT-R and then that side of things as a whole. I knew the car for nearly 10 years before I bought it, and I've owned it for over 10 years now. I think it's, in the current GT-R tuning scene, a special car. I think there's been a lot of lost focus on what these cars are originally designed for, how they can be used and should be used. We try to focus all our customer cars on maintaining drivability, usability. It is a GT car. You should be able to go away on a trip, a weekend, with more than one passenger, have aircon or heating appropriately, not use excessive fuel. So my car is, I guess, used as a platform for testing those components. Strong Japanese, and now as we're coming into a new era of Bosch Motorsport components to achieve those goals. I guess that's the ethos. Whilst we're not the only shop that builds cars like this, it is somewhat of a, particularly in Australia, I guess, a little bit of a lost trend. So maintaining usability of the car, serviceability and reliability is really key points for us. We've got some nice bits and pieces on the car, some nice parts, ranging from Bosch Motorsport ABS, R35 coils, for those that are in the tuning scene, have taken over the world. As a HKS supplier, also we've got a HKS coil kit, trigger arrangement, runs a Japanese gear set in the gearbox, all providing strength and reliability, suspension components. It's very easy to go back. When it comes to GT-R, there is a tax, but a poor man pays twice. So you just spend the right money in the right areas and the car remains usable and reliable. When you start, I guess, pushing these cars from a track perspective or target market rally, as all of the RB powered GT-Rs use what they refer to as a 3-channel ABS, it becomes very limited. If you lock a rear wheel, it releases both rear wheels. The car can become unstable. That's one side of it. The other side is if you start using a really large brake kit with really bitey pads and you get temperature in there, particularly in the 32, as I've had the experience here on this particular tyre, the ABS system simply can't react quickly enough, and you actually can end up locking a tyre because of almost like a hydraulic lock within the system. So as components, better turbochargers, better engine management, E85 continue to evolve, and suspension, the car's getting quicker, like so many other things, and the braking system, in our opinion, has effectively become unsafe. The 3-channel is the biggest limitation. So by going to a Bosch Motorsport ABS system, you have individual wheel speed sensors, and then each individual wheel is controlled individually. But it goes one step further, because then you have a system where it's not allowing two opposing wheels to lock at any given time. Its ability to manage that is phenomenal. Anyone that's driven a performance OEM car, that system is still designed around comfort. The ABS design platform, the way the system functions, the algorithm is the complete opposite. It is absolute performance. So do you have a nice pedal feel? No. Does it? Well, it's not horrible, but it's not as nice as a factory car. The entire job of that system is to pull the car up as quickly as possible under adverse conditions. Once the system was installed, naturally we need to test. The tyre we have next to me here is terribly flat spotted from the factory system. We found that through data logging with the Bosch MS6, that anything more than 2 60 km/h stops and then 2 80 km/h stops, the factory system would start to fail and it would pinch and lock up wheels. Instantly on our first test at a racetrack, which we had to hire out, with the factory ABS removed, but we left the flat spotted tyre on and actually put it on the rear, trying to induce a situation where the vehicle want a tendency to lock a wheel because there is a flat spot. With the Motorsport ABS, I think we did 8 repeated 80 km/h stops to the point where we had we cooked the brakes, we had sparks and stuff, and started to eliminate the brake pads without a single locked wheel. So that in itself, even without going into a corner at that point, was complete night and day. It wasn't even something you need to watch data, just by driving the vehicle, going around and just repeatedly doing it and having it pull up so consistently and confidently. It was just a surreal experience. During that experience, I thought back to my time working with OEMs such as Audi and BMW and having the fortunate to go to track days, drive days and driving those vehicles. I think we've all read articles where the test driver will talk about, the electronics in the vehicle and it keeps it stable and it does this and does that. And it's difficult to comprehend until you get into a 1980s car that has nothing but the ABS control system change, no brake pad compounds, anything, and it can then perform like a current model GT3, which I've also had fortunate enough to drive in terms of braking stability and power. It is, like I said, a surreal experience, and it's something that if you're racing these cars competitively at any point, not only will it improve your lap times, it'll improve your tyre life and it makes it safer. Motorsport ABS as a driver enables you, once you remove the preconceptions of driving your mum and dad's Magna or Commodore or even a Mercedes, once you remove all that and you just trust the system, you need to understand it's like driving with aero. You can't go into a corner using aero the first time and just believe you're okay. You need to work up to it. That's something that most people struggle with. This is very similar in my opinion. It's something that you need to lean on. You keep on leaning on, and what happens is you get to a point where you'll be in a corner. If you come in a little bit too hot, you can squeeze that brake pedal just that little bit harder to get yourself out of trouble, and the car will pull up, turn in. So particularly door-to-door racing, like tin top racing, that could be the difference between you clipping someone, breaking a tie rod end or something like that and putting you out of the race. So there's, in my opinion, it's endless opportunities to be able to have more confidence in the car and drive the car harder and deeper safely. I am aware of some sizable lap time differences. And again, I think that comes about like anything else. If the driver is confident in the product and the vehicle they're driving, they will naturally push harder, be more relaxed and be easier on the controls, and this system provides all that. The system is so adaptable that in my mind moving forward, even with late model cars, take a GT3 Porsche, which is, I think in a lot of people's mind, a benchmark in terms of a performance driver's car. It doesn't know if the road's wet or dry. It's that simple. With the Bosch Motorsport ABS, you can change the dial or keypad depending on what ECU you're using, and that changes the algorithm of the system, changes the amount of lock that's available to achieve that. I can't see moving forward, now that M5 has been released as a model, which has been out for a couple of years now, I guess, but it won't continue to be used in every form of motorsport other than dirt, to my knowledge. We have an involvement with World Time Attack and other various forms of racing. And I guess having a strong relationship with 999 Motorsport, which is Australia's motorsport dealer, talking with them and other people, I guess you get to understand that there is benefits to be had with this system, and like anything else, within reason, until you use it yourself, until you've had that experience, you can't truly, I guess, comment or understand what is possible. So I guess curiosity as much as anything. This is not an outright competition vehicle, but it's enabled us and created a wonderful learning platform for us to provide it into other vehicles that are currently competing at the highest level here. We've had a few conversations with 999 Motorsport, and it was decided that we would collaborate in an installation into the car to come up with a solution. These cars are still used in for the likes of Tarmac Rally, Targa Tasmania, Targa Rally, where we feel this system has the most to offer. Not that it doesn't work on a circuit, but varying conditions, wet, dry, being able to have selectable maps on the fly, it's tailored to Tarmac Rally. So 999 set about doing up some drawings. We removed the factory ABS. We've been able to create a bracket arrangement to mount the ABS system, the motor in the engine bay. There's a separate G sensor which we're able to mount alongside the factory Nissan Skyline G sensor. There's been not a single additional hole drilled into the chassis. All fasteners use existing mounting points with a hex head, no Allen keys. It might sound funny, but it's just something I've got a bugbear with. That's not what the car was released with. That's not what we should be putting in. So their involvement was massive. It couldn't have happened without them, even to the point of making adapters for the wheel speed sensors. There are a lot of challenges around that because those wheel speed sensors then feed data to the factory four-wheel drive. We've been able to change that, replicate that signal, because originally the system uses a reluctor square wave wheel speed sensor. The Bosch obviously has well, not obviously, but a more modern sine wave sensor, and that unit will reproduce that signal to be used. So yes, there was a number of challenges to be able to integrate that into the factory Atessa, being mindful that not everyone wants to have every component of their car ripped out and changed. And realistically, I think it's very difficult to improve on the factory system, particularly in this that vintage. So yes, there were challenges, and they were all very rewarding in the end. From the influence of 999 Motorsport and that development, that's a platform that they can now provide for sale, including G-sensor mounts, wheel speed sensor adapters. The complication there is an additional brake line that needs to be run to allow the system to be full system. At this point, I think the packaging of that is almost impossible to produce as a prefab thing, considering it could be shipped anywhere in the world. However, the installation, anyone that's doing an installation of this magnitude, bending a brake line to suit that is relatively straightforward, in our opinion, because it's not something that you install in your backyard. There's a lot of data that needs to be collected from the vehicle and then calibrated in that system, which really should be only being done by a dealer or an otherwise motorsport expert. We are working towards a Bosch Motorsport ECU install on this vehicle. We believe we've reached limitations with the current setup we're using, which is not necessarily the product's fault. There's a part of that, but it's where we want to go with the car and what we want to do, and we want to continue to push ourselves to understand what's possible and see what we can actually get out of refinement and drivability, and running a few little niceties along the sides, which again we'll reveal in due course. If you'd like to know more about the car and what we're doing as we trial and test new things, You can follow us on Facebook. GT-R 32R is our page name. Thanks very much.